Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Troy Lambert, the Education Lead from Plottr, and today we're going to talk about Plottr's Import from Word feature. Now this is a relatively new feature and you may be a little bit confused about how exactly it works, so we're going to show you in this video. But before we get started, one thing to understand is how styles work in Word, because how those styles work is going to impact how you import from Word into Plottr. So if you're not familiar with word styles are the way that basically text looks inside of your document. There's generally normal, which is your normal paragraph, like this area here, and then there are heading styles, like this one here. This happens to be heading 2. Now you can hover over text and tell what heading style it is by looking up here in the styles section in the header in the home area of Word. Now this is Word on Mac. Yours on PC may look a little bit different, okay? And that's where you can also change the style of a particular set of text by highlighting it and changing that style. You can also access the styles by coming over here and opening the styles pane. The styles pane then appears on the right hand side of your screen. Within that you can edit styles as well, so you can change what a style looks like. Now how a style looks doesn't necessarily impact how it looked when you pull it into Plottr. Plottr is just looking for the code for that particular style to tell it where to put the text that's in that particular style. Okay, so that's styles. Now one thing I do recommend is that if you're not familiar with the navigation pane in Word, you should get familiar with it. You should look under View, and there will be the option here to check Navigation Pane. Then that navigation pane will appear on the left-hand side of your screen. Now initially it'll just look like pages. You want to change to these bullets right here. That will show you the heading styles and the hierarchy you have within your document. Within this one, we can see that we have some headings, which is our chapter heads, and then our H3, which is our scene cards. And that is how Plottr is going to tell where a certain thing will go from Word into Plottr. Okay, so the very first thing is heading styles. Now in Plottr, when we're importing into Plottr, we essentially use H2 through H4 for the most part. There may be unique situations where you use other styles. Now in this particular case, in a pretty standard import, you're going to make the title of either your chapter or your scene or your beat, whatever it is that you want to import into Plottr, you're going to make that into H2 or heading 2. Again, it doesn't matter what that looks like in your document as long as you are using that format of heading 2. Okay, so you can see that where this is going to go is along the top row of your Plottr document, like so. So you'll see H2, chapter, scene, and beat, and then when we click into the Plottr document, you'll see H2, chapter, scene, and beat. So that exact same text will go into that exact spot in Plottr. That's where H2 will end up, is across the top of the timeline section. Now, the H3 will appear as the title of the scene card. So you can see here that we have in heading 3 the title of the scene card. Now we also have something in parentheses. In parentheses we have the plot line. That is where you want this to go in Plottr in relation to the various different plot lines. So you'll see that we have H3 scene card title. When we click into Plottr, we'll see H3 scene card title. Now that's underneath the heading 2 that we initially had. Okay, everything that's underneath that heading 2 that is heading 3 will appear underneath this chapter. So this is the first card underneath that chapter, and notice that it's on the main plot line. Okay, and so look again at the document, and you'll see that at the Word document, you'll see that heading 3 is then the second scene card which we have labeled in parentheses subplot. Now it's important to keep in mind to make sure that when you're having these words in parentheses that denote which plot line you want this to go on to in Plottr, that you spell those correctly. If I happen to spell misspell subplot, then Plottr will create another plot line with the misspelled version of subplot. So be sure that you're spelling things correctly when you're importing them into Plottr. Okay, so that's how you import the scene cards. Again, you'll see that H3 second scene card appears on the subplot plot line. Okay, so that's how you denote those things to Plottr. Okay, then when you create another H2, then the next things will appear under that one as well. So you'll see in Plottr that the H2 chapter scene beat 2 is here in this heading, and the next two heading 3s underneath appear here. But you might ask, how do I tell Plottr what I want to appear in that scene card, inside of that scene card? Well, you may have text already written in your chapter at the time that you start this process, okay? So you're going to create a summary at the beginning of your chapter. When you start that summary, you're going to begin it with the words, begin summary. When you want that summary to end, you're going to type end summary. Everything between these two phrases is what's going to appear inside the scene card. So we can see that we have an explanation of what heading 3 defines, and we have the text that says begin summary, denotes the text you want to appear inside of the scene card, end summary denotes the end of that text. When we click into Plottr, and we click into this first scene card, that's exactly what we have here. Okay, is exactly what was between those two, between begin summary and end summary. Okay, now note that if we look at this Word document again, that in this one we have begin summary and end summary. And then I put this, if you have text in your Word document outside of the begin and end summary, it will not be imported into the Plottr file. This enables you to create summaries in an existing document, arrange the heading styles, etc. Right? Now we're going to click over to the scene card, and you're going to see that the only part that gets imported into the scene card is this section right here that's between begin summary and end summary. So let's click into our Plottr file, and we'll notice that this is the only text that appears inside of that scene card. Okay, so that's how you tell Plottr what text you want inside of the scene card. Okay, pretty neat, right? Well, what happens if you want to add act structure to your Plottr file from your Word file? Well, you can actually do that, and it's actually relatively simple. Okay, when you want to add act structure, essentially you'll change your document. Your H2 will now denote the act. The highest level of your structure will be heading 2. So H2 will now represent act. H3 will represent the chapter, scene, or beat. In other words, what goes across the top of the timeline section in Plottr. And H4 is the scene card title. And then you see again that it says main plot here. That main plot again denotes which plot line this goes on. So everything else stays exactly the same, except for that you just add a heading style at the bottom level. So H4 becomes your scene card title. Begin summary and end summary work exactly the same way as well. Okay? And that is the simple way to import act structure into Plottr. Now, we have a couple of templates available for you to help you structure your Word document correctly for a seamless and easy import into Plottr. And we'll link to those two templates below this video. And if you like content like this, where how Plottr works and how new and exciting features have enhanced the way Plottr can be used by writers and the way it can speed up your writing process, Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notifications bell so you don't ever miss a video. And with that, thanks everyone for joining me. I'll see you next time.